Thank you for joining us on the Winning at Selling podcast. I'm Professor Scott Plum of the Minnesota Sales Institute, and with me is Bill Hellkamp of Reach Development Systems.
Selling can be a challenging profession. Customers make difficult demands, and so does your boss. Sales cycles can be long and confusing, and all of us deal with the feast or famine of being on commission. Wouldn't it be nice if you had someone to turn to who could help you over those rough spots? Well, now you do. So listen closely as Scott and I answer listener questions and discuss other important issues on episode 479 of the Winning at Selling podcast.
All right, before we do that, we're going to get into our book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I hope you folks listening at home are following along. This is a great book.
Before we start that, Scott, we do have a great announcement that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And that is that the Winning at Selling podcast was selected by sellingsignals.com as one of the 21 best sales podcasts for any selling situation.
Wow.
So that was pretty exciting. And you can go on to our website and find the link to that, sellingsignals.com. But we were put in with the likes of Jeffrey Gitomer, Sam Jacobs, and The Ziegler Show. So good company to be in.
That is. Thanks to our listeners for listening and tuning in and continuing to give us great feedback. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the challenges that our listeners have, which is always relevant in today's marketplace. And Bill and I are, we love to be challenged. So
we're challenged by this book.
Yeah. For sure.
Wow. I feel like an idiot.
Well, it's a great reminder of a lot of things. And I've, this was written back in the 90s. And I read this and I go, well, I can see where some other people are getting their content is from this book. This is a foundational book when it comes to any type of productivity experience that you want to have. I mean, Bill and I are relating it to sales and, applying it to sales, but anytime that you want to be effective in whatever role you have, this is a great book. And it talks about many roles. And,
it's one of my foundational books, along with How to Win Friends, The Magic of Thinking Big,
yep.
And
As a Man Thinketh.
As a Man Thinketh, which I know you're going to quote from today. That's one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
There are some really good books out there that really we should almost have memorized and be doing something with. So let's talk about the second half of Put Things First, about Quadrant Two Organizing. Wow. This is a challenge for me.
It is. And it's because we are, I think, conditioned or programmed to be responsive, to act quickly, to be prompt, to create urgency. So we act on what's urgent, and we don't always act on what's important. So
Quadrant Two, the challenge with Quadrant Two is it's not urgent.
Right.
It's not urgent. And that's what we need to work on. What's not urgent, but important. And those are the things where we tend to fall down on, I think.
Yeah. And they broke it down. The author broke it down into 4 areas. So it's identifying your roles, and they were really specific on the roles that you play. And I think this is an important exercise for anybody, is to identify the roles that you have in life. I mean, you might be a father, a mother, you might be a son, a daughter, you might be an aunt, and uncle. I mean, we all think of our professional roles and our titles, but we also think about our personal roles, because when we think about our roles, we're creating our obligations and expectations of playing and performing those roles in life.
Well, because we want to be more than just a job person, right? We want to be more than just a good husband or wife. We want to be just more than a good parent. We want to be all these things. And so we have to work on all of these roles.
Yeah, I was talking to my, I think, 15, 16-year-old niece the other day, and I said, Anna, what do you want to be when you grow up? She goes, well, I don't know. And I go, now, what question did I ask you? And she says, what do I want to be in life? And I go, so what are you thinking of? She goes, well, I don't know what I want to be. And I go, well, do you want to be understanding? Do you want to be compassionate? Do you want to be sympathetic, empathetic? Do you want to be driven, committed, dedicated? Those are all roles that you play as in the being. I didn't ask you what you want to do in the career, but think about, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think that's where we really get into really confusing the being and doing is at a very young age, is not understanding that question. And when it gets into the roles, we think about the next one, which is selecting goals. So out of the 4 key activities, we've got identifying roles, then we have selecting goals. So what do you want to accomplish within that role? And then scheduling the activities that represent and support the goals. And then lastly is the daily adapting to the role and the goals and the obligations.
I think in this identifying roles piece, it's not just who you are, but it's who you want to be. And that's where it merges with kind of the selecting goals. It's this idea of, I am at this place. I know who I am. I have an understanding of myself, my strengths and weaknesses. And then also, where do I want to take myself? Just like where do I want to take my job? I want to get better at my work. I want to have more clients, but I also want to be, as you say, maybe more understanding or more patient or more challenging or more courageous. And all of those are goals that we have that we want to move ourselves toward. And if we don't consciously move ourselves toward those betterments of ourselves, then we're not going to get better, or we may only get better accidentally rather than purposefully.
Right. Well, I totally agree. It can happen by accident and not by intention. And the reason I bring up the being and the doing is because the book continues to stress the personal mission statement throughout the book. It is the foundation of everything that the author talks about is on the personal mission statement. And that's why I bring up the being and the doing, so that we are able to identify that and create that personal mission statement. And I know a lot of you playing along at home have not done that. Yeah. And it's an important exercise. And when you start really thinking about it, you really start to define who you are.
Yeah. One thing he said, and very late in the chapter that I caught, he said, every one of the 7 habits occurs in the second quadrant. Every one of these 7 habits he's going to talk about are things you could not do and you could get along in life, because they're not urgent until the end or later on, when you say, I didn't get where I wanted to be because I didn't focus on the prioritizing of the most important things. And that's really, that was a scary thought to me, because that means there's so much to do in quadrant 2 that I might not be doing.
Right. I noticed that too. And I did highlight that part. And it's a very good thing to be aware of. And now that we're aware of it, now we can work on applying it. If we're not aware of something, we can't apply it because we don't know about it. I mean, and you brought it up earlier here, and you said, the time blocking. He gave 2 pages of time blocking, and it's really focusing on prioritizing what's most important and not what's urgent. And when you look at your schedule and time blocking, you're really focusing on incorporating your goal list into your calendar. And once it's on your calendar and you schedule time to do it, it makes it a lot easier to accomplish it.
Right. And the key is to get rid of quadrants 3 and 4, the not important items, some that feel urgent, some that aren't urgent. But we spend a lot of our time doing things that are not important and don't give us long-term results that will make us happy, whether it's playing games on the computer or watching TV, or, we're never going to end our life going, I just wish I'd watched a few more shows.
Yeah, exactly.
But we may end our life saying, I wish I had accomplished more. I wish I had spent more time with my children. I wish I had even played golf more.
Sure, absolutely.
But sitting and watching people play golf is not the same. It's not building a memory. It's just watching other people do things. So what are the things that we're doing? And that's why the key for me was the delegation part.
Yeah.
What am I doing that someone else should be doing better than me and eventually faster than me if I teach them properly?
Right. And I hear a lot of people talk about that as leverage, and that term can kind of get a little overused, and it kind of can get misinterpreted too, because some people look at leverage as delegation without accountability.
Well, he showed the visual, right, of the leverage.
Yeah, he really did. Yeah, and moving that fulcrum, and that was just a wonderful graphic to be able to illustrate what he was talking about. But I agree with the stewardship delegation involves a clear, upfront understanding and commitment regarding expectations. And he listed in 5 areas, which I think is really important, is the desired results. So what do you want to accomplish, which is begin with the end in mind. The guidelines, here's the rules, here's the boundaries, rules of engagement that we need to accomplish. Here's the resources, so the tools that you have when it comes to achieving the goal, the desired results. The accountability as to how are you going to commit and want to do it because you're being held accountable to it. And then also the consequences if you don't deliver on the results. And I looked at this, I go, Bam. That is the definition of an onboarding system, a program with any company with a new salesperson coming in. Here's the desired results. Here's the guidelines. Here are the rules that we're going to play by. Here's the resources that you have. And here's the drive on the network, with all the resources in it. Here's the accountability. So, we're going to follow up every day or every week, and we're going to look at what you've done and did and completed and the results you got. And then the consequences if you don't. The consequences are, we've heard it all before. Oh, it's an opportunity for training. Oh, okay. So we got to cover this a little bit deeper, maybe a little bit more broader. We need to be able to make sure that the comprehension is there when somebody learns something new, so they're able to apply it accurately.
Well, he told a great story about getting his son to take care of their yard in a different way. And the real fulcrum on this was when he wanted to take it away from him, or wanted to start to over analyze what he was doing, and he held off and he allowed his son to come to the decision. And too often we as leaders tend to either bail people out by saying, okay, that guideline or that accountability wasn't really important, or I'm going to take it away and just do it myself because I'm frustrated and I can't wait for you to get it done. And all of those things destroy the person's ability to accomplish. And we don't realize how often as leaders, we grab back that authority or that opportunity for growth.
Yeah, I think my brothers-in-laws, when they got married to my sisters, intentionally screwed up loading the dishwasher and doing laundry. And then it was taken away from them, which is exactly what they wanted.
One set of pink T-shirts is the last time you're going to be asked to do that.
And guess what? They don't have to load the dishwasher or do the laundry anymore. And they're so happy.
Yeah. Well, my dad would tell the story of doing poor work for his dad to get out of doing the work, and how even later in life he was actually embarrassed by his childishness and making his dad do that work. And so I think when we do those sorts of things, we know what we're doing and we don't grow. And I think the concern for sales managers is, are your salespeople allowing you to take away those opportunities for growth because it's easier for them to do that, and you're not holding them accountable in the same process of stewardship accountability.
But we have to keep in mind that the accountability is only possible if we really have clear expectations, guidelines, and resources. Then we can have them held accountable. I want to include one more thing. And he talked about efficiency and effectiveness. And this is out of the book. He says, you simply cannot think efficiently with people. You can think effectively with people and efficiently with things. We accomplish all that we do through delegation, either through time or other people. If we delegate the time, we think efficiently. If we delegate to other people, we think effectiveness. And this is something circling back to a previous episode with Anthony Iannarino. He always talked about the difference between effectiveness and efficiency. And too often sales managers go, I really want to work on efficiency within my sales team. And Anthony Iannarino says, well, if that's the case, just email out a quote. I mean, there you go. That's the most efficient way of doing it. You don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to ask anything. Just email them out a quote, and then good luck and see if that works. And we know that doesn't work because, salespeople, we've been through it. So we really separate the two.
All right. Excellent. Now, next week is going to be the introduction to the next section. So we're not going to talk about one of the 7 habits. We're going back into an introduction of the next section.
This segment has been brought to you by the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program, presented by your host of the Winning and Selling Podcast. Every professional athlete has a coach, someone to assist and advise. Tiger Woods had 4 swing coaches so that he could stay at the top of his game. What would you like to improve or overcome in the next year? Perhaps as a salesperson, you want to be more productive with your prospecting, overcoming objections, or delivering more effective presentations. As a sales manager, you want to create a spark within your sales team with a new message, a refreshed approach to starting new conversations with prospects, or you are looking for market-ready strategies to increase revenue and shorten the sales cycle with your existing team. Or as a business leader, you want to transform the sales culture and your value proposition for the new marketplace. Whatever your reason, this is the perfect time to engage with an experienced sales coach. That is why your hosts of Winning at Selling podcast, Professor Scott Plum and Bill Hellkamp, have developed the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. Now you can receive personal coaching from the same sales professionals you enjoy on this podcast. It all starts with a discussion to give us insights into your specific goals, challenges, needs, and motivation. Go to winningatselling.com to contact Bill or Scott about the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. Do you believe you deserve better results? Now is the time to invest in yourself, your people, and your customers, and invest in your future.
All right. Well, we have finally, after promising you for a couple of weeks, we're going to get to answering listener questions. And I apologize for that. We kept announcing it and then finding we had something else we needed to talk about, like a guest, which was really great last week.
That was a great
episode. If you missed that conversation, I would go back and listen to episode 478 on mastering the upsell. It was very good.
Yeah. Victor Antonio.
It was terrific. Yeah, I've started to watch some of his videos. He's really good. So
great energy.
All right. Well, let's get into our questions. I will read the question. I have some questions. You have some questions that you picked out of all the ones we had. And both of us can kind of dig in on these answers, and hopefully we won't go too long on these. So we'll have to kind of cut them short. But first of all, from Tanya in New Jersey, she says, I had a sales call that went really well, but as I've tried to follow up with a prospect, he doesn't respond. Did I do something wrong? And what can I do now to get it started again?
Wow.
So they went silent on her, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want me to propose a solution?
Sure. What do you think? Yeah.
So my question during that sales call is, what did you find that they were most interested in? What really perked them up when you presented it? Or what problem did you talk about that they could really relate to? So what is their motivation to want to continue to have another conversation with you? What is their reason to invest more time and energy and resources into continuing with you on the proposal, the idea, the solution that you offer? And if we don't know what that is, it's tough for us to follow up. It's tough for us to circle back. It's tough for us to touch base, as some people say, if we don't have a reason. I mean, how does that sound, Bill?
Right. Oh, I think that's true. I think we don't make ourselves, we tell too much. I think we give them all the answers. We make a few things up, and there's no reason for the second meeting. So knowing that there's a reason for the second meeting, and then also really spending time at the end setting up that second meeting. So don't go out of your first meeting with that idea that, well, I'll touch base with you in 2 weeks. That's when you're going to have things fall apart. Set a second meeting where you're going to go in, you're going to meet with them again, or you've set up a phone or Zoom meeting that has a specific time to it. I think that goes wrong for a lot of people, that they don't set it up, and now we don't know when we're going to get together again. Now, the second part of her question is, what can I do now to get it started again? Any suggestions on that part?
Well, I would circle back and ask them if, I use that
but
term,
I don't say back. Just circling back.
Just touching base, circling back. I would connect with them again and go, I kind of get the impression that something's changed. You decided to go another direction, or you're no longer interested in working with us. Is there anything that I can do to learn more about some of the criteria that you're looking at, or the decisions that you're leaning towards, or what I could offer? So
you're going for the Fisher cut bait close.
I'm going for, either progress or close the file.
Okay.
Exactly.
Excellent. I think that's true. Or try to set another appointment, but I think you may have missed your opportunity. And when they go cold, sometimes they just go cold, and maybe you put them on a list where you contact them on a regular basis through email or something, and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
All right. What's one of your questions?
I got one of mine from Jamie in Paducah, Kentucky.
I love the name Paducah.
Yeah.
Great name.
I mean,
Jamie's a good name too, but Paducah is just
got to be a bourbon plant somewhere near that. I think everybody's happy. So here's the question: is my salespeople can't sell our SaaS, software as a solution product, for $200 more than our competitor, and our program delivers twice as much value. How can I change this? And when I think about a situation like this, and I read this question, I think about Covey, or not was it Covey? Yeah, Covey. And this book, I mean, wow, we've done some great books. It's tough to keep all the advice separate. But here's what I think of is the problem that you see is part of the problem. How you see the problem is the problem. What is really the problem? You're getting on your salespeople because they can't sell $200 more when your product is better. Find out what the salespeople are doing that is not communicating the value so that the prospect understands it. Find out more about the pain and consequences that the prospect experiences so that you can offer more value, more solutions that the prospect ends up wanting to pay for and pay $200 more for. Bill, what do you think? How would you respond to this?
Well, my first question is, how much is $200 more? Is it an $800 product from the competitors and $1,000 from me, or is it a $5,000 product and $5,200? If it's that kind of a difference, I'm in real trouble with my sales team.
Right.
If it's a 20% difference or something like that, then that's fairly significant. And I think you're probably not doing enough disclosure. I find a lot of times, and this is going to deal with one of my other questions, but I find a lot of times in a software as a service, you're doing most of your work online. They're seeing a demo online, and a lot of the problems are with your demo. Your demos are boring, and people aren't engaged, and they can't see the value difference very well because your person doing your demo doesn't know how to do it. So I would look at that as one of the opportunities for growth is can our demo process be better? Because that's almost always done online, and they're not usually very good.
Right.
That's
totally agree.
I would look into.
Yeah. Which one do you have?
All right. Well, let's see. I'm going to go to that demo one, and then I'll go back to another one from Kevin in Chicago. We sell an online solution, and part of my sales process is to conduct a demo, usually for a group of 4 or 5 people. They usually start out okay, but then the energy seems to fade and the group loses interest. How can I make these demos more interesting? So what do you say, Scott?
Yeah, I kind of take a combination of what you just responded to with Jamie and Paducah and what I shared with Tanya in New Jersey is what do they really like? What really perked up? What did they really find the most interesting? But at the same time, I don't know if sometimes the demos are really addressing a problem. So if you're just talking about a solution and you don't address a problem, the solution has no relevance. And it can't stick to a problem. Yeah.
I've taught a course on online demos. I have a very good course on that. And here's a couple of challenges. Number one challenge is that the salesperson and the technical person who's giving the demo are not always the same person. And the technical person usually doesn't know what the problems are that were identified early on. So there's very poor communication between the salesperson and the person giving the demo. So everything in the demo has equal value, right? So that goes to your point of not identifying what the problem is. And then the other thing is the person doing the demo is always talking. They have questions built in. They have no queries. They get no involvement for the person who's trying to integrate. They don't even learn the names of the 4 or 5 people that are there. So they can say, Juliet, you're the CFO. What do you think? What kind of problems do you face that this could deal with? And so they don't get any interaction going. And that's why he says the energy seems to fade. Yeah, because the people are bored to death. They've seen enough gray screens with numbers on them, and they've lost interest because you're not interesting. So I would really look at how my demo is working and how the salesperson is working with the person doing the demo. Are they identifying what those real crucial pieces of value are, or are they just doing everything the same, which I find usually is the truth.
Wow. Just some simple techniques in there, Bill, that are just so powerful, like getting the names of the people. I mean, what a great suggestion. And I don't think people really think about that. It's like
they just go from one demo to the next, doing the same thing over and over again. And they sound bored.
Yeah, they do. They really do. They're exhausted, especially when you catch them in the afternoon. They're like, right. I just want to go home.
That's right. Okay, what's your second?
I got one from Gene in Sacramento, California. We sell wireless equipment to telecom companies and distributors. Our clients have had back orders for about a year now. Some of them are starting to get angry with us. How can we retain our clients with this problem? This is not our reputation. So, Bill, I'll turn that over to you to go first on that one.
Well, I've got another client that's dealing with exactly the same thing. And you add to it, costs are going up because the equipment and all the shipping has gone up. Right. Anything that's coming in from containers from Asia The containers have gone from $4,000 and $6,000 to $20,000 a container, and they're all late because
Right.
all the ships are sitting off the port of Los Angeles, and so these are real big problems. Here's the good news: your competitors are dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
So you're not out there by yourself unless they have, had a whole stock of equipment and they figured out the chip problem before anybody else did, which I haven't heard of any company that has. All companies in an industry are dealing with the same lack of and cost increases. So here's what I advise my client to do. Stop hiding and start communicating. Communicate. They're going to get the same issues from your competition, but keep in contact. Let them know exactly where their order is. Let them know what the problems are, and keep talking to them. And that's the way that we retain clients in a challenging situation, is by letting them know exactly what is happening and not trying to lie or obfuscate so that they just feel better. And then it's another 2 months.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I would not take any of anything out. Totally agree. When I first heard about this and Gene called and we talked about it, I said, congratulations. And they go, what? Congratulations. I go, congratulations on building a reputation with your clients, that they go, this is not the way you work with us. And we're really surprised that this is happening. And I said, congratulations. The only way that you can create disappointment is when expectations are not met. And your clients hold you in high regard and a high expectation, and they know that this is not who you are. If they were not frustrated, it was because that's exactly what they expect from you.
Right.
And that's not what you're delivering. So, look at it from that way. And when you talk to your clients, include that, going, I'm really grateful that you're calling us and expressing your frustration, because you know what our reputation is and we're not delivering that. And we're in a really tough spot, but unfortunately it's the market and not us.
Yep. But if you hide from them, you can't tell them that.
Exactly. Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. All right. All right.
My last one from Lawrence in Dallas. I sell test equipment for manufacturing. Recently, I was in a meeting with new prospects, and there were 2 engineers and a production guy. The meeting seemed to be going well at first. One of the engineers seemed to get angry about our product and asked really aggressive questions about quality and accuracy. I was pretty surprised and didn't really know how to respond. It took me off my game, and the rest of the interview didn't seem to go well. What should I have done when this engineer's attitude made such a shift? So what do you say?
I would call it, and I would say, I get the impression that something I did or showed you made you upset. You mind elaborating a little bit more about that? And then really get into how they feel about a certain feature and find out what they expected that's not being delivered, or what's missing that they want to include, and really get them to share why their emotions and their disposition changed from being interested and curious to being more disgusted, and go from there, and then find out more about what would that do for you? What would that mean for you? What would you get from that particular feature or something that's missing? What do you think?
So You're getting the feeling from the question that he just kept going on with his regular presentation demo. and didn't talk about the issue. I think that's good. I think that's really good. The other thing that caught my eye about this is that this other engineer might like the product they're currently using. He says it's new prospects, and so he may be in the pocket or just be influenced by the current supplier, and was given some aggressive questions to challenge this person with. And so I would ask not only the questions about, what do you want in it? What would make it a perfect situation for you? But I would also ask questions about what do you currently use and what do you like about that? And have you found that to be really good for you? And start to bring some of those things out too. So I think both of those things, what you're saying, ask questions about the attitude and what's happening and what's going on. And then also ask questions about their current use and what they like about that, to make sure that you're going to be able to cover that as well.
Yeah, I don't think we can turn a blind eye when somebody changes their disposition. I think we need to find out what happened and to learn about where they're coming from, because what is the key to sales? And it's the same key as to negotiations, and that's information.
Yep.
If we don't get information, we can't work with a prospect and really work on changing the process. And in this particular situation, Bill, I can certainly see where somebody is an advocate for another product and they don't want to change.
Right.
And they may be frustrated too that their knowledge is on the existing product, but the new product is much, much better and will save a lot of time and it might decrease the workload, which they might be threatened on their job security, or they might have to learn a new software program or a new application, and they just don't want to do that, and they're just really frustrated with that.
That's right.
Totally
right.
All right,
so
I got a last.
Okay, your last question. Great.
My last one is from Pat in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And the question is, I started selling storm repair services and I call on insurance agents for referrals about 6 months ago. We had some storms come through that caused water damage, but I'm not getting any calls. Why is this happening to me? So
wow, that's pretty broad. I don't know if we have enough info on that.
Well, and I've worked in a situation like this where I've worked with a sales team for a restoration company.
Oh, okay, so you kind of worked through these agents like that.
Yeah, and the restoration company calls on insurance agents because they're generally the first one that hears about any storm damage. And I might have talked about this in past shows, which is why they might have brought it up. And what the insurance agents need to do is they need to really change how the claims are processed. Generally, the insurance agents want to send their policyholder to the claims phone number. And that's the easiest thing for the agent to do, and that's what they're taught and told. And they leave it up to the provider to end up fixing the damage. Well, what's the goal for the provider, the insurance carrier, is to minimize the payout in the short period of time. What's the goal of the insurance agent is to retain the policyholder after a claim, because prices go up when claims are not handled correctly and or a rate increases and the policyholder changes clients. So with a rate increase or a policy claim gone bad, those are when people leave. And in order to retain your customers, you need to change the behavior and work with the agent on what's in their best interest, and that is to refer their policyholder to a company that has a goal of retaining business and referrals from that particular insurance agent.
That's that. Yeah, it took you a while to get around to that. Yeah. But yeah, you've got to sell them not only on the fact that you're going to do a good job, but you're going to talk about what a great agent this is.
Right, exactly. Absolutely. And the agent is going to retain the policyholder after the claim.
I think the thing that came to my mind as I read this or listened to this question from Pat is, are you talking to those agents enough? So I think a lot of people, they do the introduction, they maybe even have a sit down meeting, and then they think that person will remember them forever.
Right.
And I think you have to have a process where on a regular basis, you're getting your name in front of them, whether it's a newsletter, whether it's information, whether it's follow-up phone calls, bringing information to that insurance agent that will give them value, and then also get them to remember you. Quite often you have to have a follow-up process that might be a year long. And one good introductory meeting and then never hearing from you again is not going to be uppermost in their mind. And that's why organizations use refrigerator magnets and all kinds of things to send out to get their name in front of you. If your mouse pad has your name in it, maybe they'll remember you. So I'm not advising that as an answer, but it can be part of the solution, that you have a process that keeps putting your name in front of this limited group of insurance agents that you can work with.
Yeah. Good response.
All right. Well, we welcome more questions from anybody. We love to answer these kind of questions. These people, Jamie and Jean and Kevin and Tanya, they didn't have to wait a couple of months for us to answer those. We sent them back a note and gave them some ideas. So we're just answering these again on air so that all of you can benefit from these questions. But if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you have thoughts about selling, we love to answer these kind of questions and we welcome them anytime. Just go to winningatselling.com, contact either Scott or I or both of us, and we will get back to you with a conversation or with an email and talk to you about these different kinds of questions. We love to get them.
I think another question to ask is, what are you most afraid of? In sales, in your career, what are you most afraid of? And I think,
I've got a good answer for that.
Oh, what's that?
Thank you for that. So last week and this week, I've made an offer. I will do a 40-minute online presentation for you called "What Scares Salespeople," which is just in time for Halloween coming up. I had 4 of those slots available. I've got 2 of them booked. And so if you're in the Minneapolis area, I'll do it live. But if you're not in the Minneapolis area, I'd be happy to do it online, either to your sales team or if you have a sales-oriented group that you're part of and you're looking for a speaker, contact me. I'd love to do this presentation for your team.
Great idea. Our golden nugget today is from one of Bill's favorite authors, James Allen, As a Man Thinketh. And the quote is, "Good thoughts and actions can never produce bad results. Bad thoughts and actions can never produce good results."
Yeah, I think that is such a powerful statement. How we think, and this really ties into the 7 habits, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It really
How
does.
we think, what our goals are, what our intentionality is if it's in a good direction, it's going to produce good fruit. And if it's not, it's going to produce bad fruit. I think that's the term he uses, is bad fruit, not bad results, but that's okay. Same thing. So what did you think about? What does it make you think?
I thought of it because in looking at 7 Habits of Highly, I know we haven't gotten to it yet, but one of the lines in the book is, a man cannot do good in one area and bad in another. And I think about the timing of when As a Man Thinketh was written, and it was written many, many years before Stephen Covey wrote 7 Habits. So I know that Stephen is also taking information that he's heard and refining it and making it a little bit more concise, or repositioning it to kind of reiterate the same point that James Allen came up with. So
excellent.
It's really important to have different perspectives and to reinforce what we want to be known for in our reputation, because people judge us on our behavior. We judge ourselves on our intentions. Sometimes our intentions are not always represented in our behavior.
So if you want to learn more, go to winningatselling.com. You can listen to all of our podcasts. You can contact Scott or I. You have all of our links there. All of our show notes are at winningatselling.com.
Next week, we're going to cover part 3 of Public Victory, Paradigms and Interdependence, pages 183 to 203. And our topic will be dealing with difficult people.
Go out and get better one skill at a time.
Joyful selling.